Uh, Hello, Holy Spirit family. I would like to thank first to the organizers of Holy Spirit Festival for giving me the chance to share with you some learnings from these times of uncertainty and to maybe have some ideas about how to transform this uncertainty to help create the world, the future that we all probably dream. Okay, so I hope you will enjoy it. During this crisis, a part of me has been kind of happy to hear how figures of affected people were increasing, especially in some countries with leaders that seem to forget about what is social justice or even human dignity. Of course, my stronger feeling was sadness and worrying, but in some way, this second layer of me was accepting a great human suffering as a kind of, let's say, worthy sacrifice that will help the awakening of our society, right? Maybe you resonate with what I'm saying, or maybe you just think I'm kind of inhuman monster, maybe both. But leaving aside the pragmatic or the moral discussion we could hold about this activated a warning in my consciousness. And I think acknowledge this and express it as it used to be was a good decision. I feel already this is kind of healing inside me, fortunately. What I realized I was applying was again what I call the filter of good and bad. This filter that most of us apply to some extent in our daily perceptions or our behaviors or decisions. Sometimes it seems almost impossible to avoid it, right? Anyway, in this case, the filter went too far because it was compromising my most basic humanity, my compassion, and I also realized that my ego was talking, saying, yeah, the planet is fighting back, the ones who don't listen are punished at the end of the day, and don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that this could not be true, but we are approaching here a dangerous boundary that could confuse why or from which inner place we are doing what we are doing for the great turning, as some want to call it. I will appreciate if you keep this in mind for a while. Anyway, for sure you hear many lucid minds of our time saying that the real virus we are facing here is fear, and fear can be shown in more subtle manners than the most usually mentioned. I feel that fear is what actually makes us being uncomfortable with this post that we are living now. And the first challenge with fear is make it visible. Being conscious of it. When a fear is unconscious, our usual reactions are aggression, selfishness, being defensive, right? And when we are conscious of the fear, we take it as a warning to take measures for protection, we try to cooperate to mitigate the risk. And of course, when you do that, fear starts to be reduced. However, this solidarity and cooperation usually is still being driven by fear. And you know that where there is fear, there is no love. So maybe next challenge is to be able to transform that fear in love. Fear is what actually creates enemies. And all this common message we hear about being at war, be together against the virus, against the enemy. We don't need to be together against the virus. We need to be together. That's it, no matter what. The last findings of evolutionary biology suggest the idea of that evolution is based more in cooperation than in competition, or at least in balance. Competition is useful, mainly to create skills or encourage the growth of certain capacities. In fact, I like to say that life is just a game that's worth to be taken seriously, but we are not at war, or at least we should not be at war. In a war, you identify your enemy as something to be defeated or even destroyed. But in life, negotiation and understanding has always been a cheaper and better solution for all parties involved in a conflict. So let's try to go for the win-win, not against the virus or them. Not humanity against threats like this. Those threats have nothing to do with the same system that maintain our lives. Finding enemies give us just a superficial peace, because allow us to release our own responsibility on what is happening. And fear brings need of control, and we cannot survive anymore in trying to control everything. A situation like this is happening when whatever is not predictable, or at least expected, happens in a world with a political and economic system that is based on fear. And in a system with anthropocentric and patriarchal structures that assume that everything can be under control. And something similar happens with how we approach healthcare. Byung-Chul Han, this Korean philosopher based in Germany, says that after Nietzsche claimed the death of God, the new goddess is health, or health is the new goddess. But of course he means basically mainly to the physical health of the individuals. We fear death and we fear time running. We want to make it last no matter what. Like if we don't accept that it will come sooner or later, right? But, well, Buddhism understands that there is a connection between impermanence and love. That they say that when you wake up, it's good to say to yourself something like, today may be the day I die. And that not accepting our impermanence and the declining of our physical body, in fact, prevent us to be more grateful and more present. Well, because of fear, we understand health too much on avoiding death instead of living a more human life, right? Why I am saying all this? Because in a near future, we will probably arrive to crossroads where human contact and freedom will be in conflict with potential health risk. And what if the solution is live one more year but not hugging anyone for the rest of your life? What if every time you touch your partner increase the possibilities to die? I know these questions are hypothetical, and I'm aware that this idea could lead to a sensitive discussion. I don't pretend to give us the right to play with anyone's life, okay? I want to be clear on this. But if we dive on this idea, we can find a boundary somewhere. I'm not suggesting even to find it. That is not actually important. I just want to reflect on it for a deeper understanding of life, beyond the absence of death and suffering. And if someone tells us, there is no other options, we need to take these decisions that we make our life less human because, we all work like this and that and so on. Then maybe we will need to decide if we accept it or we trust that this impossible world for many could be in fact possible. In any case, we are living times of uncertainty, so we look for safety in whatever is certain, even though the uncertainty could be hard. And for me, this is like a good terror movie. But the terror movies are the ones where most of the film you don't even see the killer. There's no explicit violence, right? And there is a really disturbing silence, like anxiety and this calmness. And during this time, the characters used to have two tendencies. They tend to fear the fear and then block, and they have panic attacks, right? And there is this other character that denies the obvious, to say everything is going to be alright, or try to give any kind of explanation without evidence, or try to find blame in something or someone they know. And sorry to say it, but we cannot assure that everything is going to be alright. And that's fine, not to have always the answer. Maybe we need to learn how to accept uncertainty, how to embrace uncertainty. And of course, this uncertainty also affects the ones who are looking for a big change in the system, for the big change in our mindset. For being optimistic, when a paradigm is deeply questioned, as it is now, that used to be a sign that this paradigm is near to collapse. But anyway, this uncertainty still pushes our impatience, right? And create expectations of a rapid turnover of the reality. But be aware of expectations, because they cause frustration and they could be even counterproductive. Some of us are expecting not to become to a normality, like the old normality, and see the world changing in front of our eyes in the following months. And I would like to be wrong, but I will say the change is not going to be so visible or so immediate. At least beside the new adjustments to the new normality that, to be honest, will be probably quite similar to what we had before. And don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying to stop working on this change. Don't stop pushing to make it happen. Because for sure it's something permeating already, and we shall profit this momentum. But as pandemics, consciousness evolution is in some way also a system. And in a system, there are feedback loops, which means that any change you introduce in an element of the system will take time to have effects in its dynamics, especially in the dynamics of the whole. But don't worry, change will be happening. I cannot be sure, but I believe on it. I believe on it. And I know this sounds contradictory, but I really think it's not. And this will be happening partially to these triggers that are coming from this crisis. But we need to meet at least one main condition for this to happen. That is leaving our doors open, or inner doors open, and take into account that the only one who usually closes its doors is fear. On the other side, when we acknowledge that a virus is not an enemy, we normally also realize that this is an integral part of the natural system. And when manifests in the way it is doing, it is a symptom of a deeper illness of the system we are part of, by the way. For example, this has a lot to do with ecosystem degradation, as you know, because it promotes more contact with wild animals. But even more important than this is the loss of diversity. Why? Because on one side, paradoxically, more species mean less quantity of animals with virus, because species control each other's population. So species carrying the virus don't have demographic explosions. At the same time, in a wider sense, we should see diversity as the memory of the system, the natural system and the human system too. As much as we lose diversity in nature, but also as much as we lose in this diversity in cultural and social knowledge, more will be reduced the potential source where to find solutions for future problems. In Tibetan medicine, is recognized for four main causes of disease. And one of them is what they call Don. Don are, we can say, invisible beings, spirits, mainly spirits, but also include microbes. And they think that infectious diseases are coming from Don. As the spirits are the owners of nature, when we disrespect nature, they react. And in fact, in the Tibet, eating bats was forbidden as early as in the 8th century, because they were already identified as a source of disease. Even leprosy, that was believed to be caused by unseen beings living underground, now we know that it's caused by a bacteria that lives in the soil. Recently, I hear someone from the Tamera community in Portugal saying that how this virus is spread was showing us how clearly we are one only breath, how interconnected we are, right? Now more than ever, your health is my health. Even for the most practical perspective, we might think that we'll be basically safe if we have a good health care or a healthy style of life, and if we don't take unnecessary risk. And so, but if the person who grows our food doesn't have health care, or someone have no access to be tested, no one will be safe. Or you will be safe, but for this virus, but not for the next one. And as we saw before, also, now more than ever, ecosystems' health is our health. And what it sounds common sense is that that it can have a lot of benefits, little disadvantages, if we adapt our interest to the interest of the planet, right? And to the interest of the commons, instead of securing securing only our health care or our relatives or the health care of the citizens of our country. And that is why an holistic view of health, the same as a holistic understanding of reality, is essential. Because it facilitates interconnections to create balances, to create memory, wisdom, even action in the body, in the mind, in ecosystems, in human relationships, in our societies. And this doesn't mean only to give a place to ancestral and traditional medicines and wisdom, of course, or for the alternative or natural medicines, but also to trustful social behaviors, to healthy thinking, to an attitude of openness, compassion. These things that will allow the flux of systems to move at any scale, even at any fractal. And the condition to achieve this is love and trust. We could say that creating a collective feel of trust, it could be the best preventive medicine that we can create. but not fear. Fear even weakens our body. This is biologically proven. So better saving our vital energy and strengthen our immune system and strengthen our social immune system, making it more vulnerable. Let's open ourselves and increase the connections as a medicine, as a preventive medicine. Let's create a sense of community. So let's take advantage of this time of pause. Walter Benjamin said that deep boredom and relaxation allows the gift of listening. And this pause is happening to all of us and simultaneously, for some reason. I also believe that this is a message to humanity. Whose message? Well, we don't know, but we can discuss. But the key question here is, what is the message? And if you are watching this video in your lockdown, probably you are already a privilege and you have the chance to think about this message instead of thinking about surviving, as many people does every day. There is a stunningly beautiful sentence from Arundhati Roy that many of you probably know that says, "Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing." Well, I love how simple and profound is this line. And of course, I love how the feminine is used. We all know that future will be feminine or won't be. Well, in the same way, that happened to me these days, that I can hear the birds of this area singing. I never hear before because of the noises of the city. Maybe we can try to just sit and listen something that is beyond this silence, and try to listen this breath of the future world that is coming, of this impossible world that is coming. In fact, there is another line from John Platt or from Buckminster Fuller. There was a discussion about the authority of this line. I'm also hearing about this sentence these days that says, "The world is too dangerous for anything else than utopia." And history shows us that impossible ideas sometimes become possible precisely in moments of crisis. Maybe this is our chance for an evolutionary leap, or to project the world that we like to imagine. Don't forget that quantum physics have shown already that our thoughts are actually modify and create reality. Or we can continue with the same normality, fighting the next pandemic, the next enemy, fighting for an apparent scarcity of resources, and the social conflicts that are arising from them, because they are arising already. I can see it every day in my job. So we can continue with more and more present and less chances to survive as humanity. Or we can try to work. Be careful with fighting, because these connections, in my opinion, will not be fixed by fighting an enemy. It never did it before, and if it did it, create a new imbalances, new enemies, because at the end of the day, it's coming from the same inner place. I would like to share another phrase from Charles Eisenstein, that for me is one of the most inspiring voices of our times. I highly recommend it. He says something recently in an article that I can read. This crisis could usher in totalitarianism or solidarity, medical martial law or holistic renaissance, greater fear of the microbial wall or greater resiliency in participation in it, permanent norms of social distancing or a renewed desire to come together. Thank you all. Stay in peace and stay in joy.